The all-in-one WP migration plugin has some limitations. For example, the free version only works on sites smaller than 512 megabytes. In this video, you'll migrate your local site using a different free plugin called Duplicator. In this case, you won't need to create a new WordPress installation to receive the migration import. Duplicator does that for you. By the end of this video, you'll have made a copy of your site with the Duplicator plugin and installed it in a blank location without installing a new WordPress site first. Let's do it. We're going to be moving the last site that we were working on in the 2014 theme. And if you don't have it open already, make sure that you start MAMP and then go to your URL there and also go to the admin page and log in. It would also be convenient if you had the start page open in your browser like I do over here from MAMP so that we can access the database. If you're using Local by Flywheel for your local development environment, you need to go through a couple of steps to create an environment to receive the site migration. In Local by Flywheel, click the plus button to create a new site and then enter all the information. I've already done that and called it manual migration. And if I look at my site files under users and my username on my computer and local sites, you can see the manual migration folder is right here. Once I created that, under app and then under public is where the WordPress files were located. I've just deleted those in order to prepare the environment to put the installer and the archive file. The other thing you need to do is go to local and under the site you've just created under database, open the adminer utility using this button and then delete all the tables out of the existing database. Then your environment will be ready to prepare for the Duplicator plugin. If you're using your SiteGround server, go ahead and log in. You can click My Accounts and then go to the cPanel. And from there, you can scroll down to Files and open up the File Manager. I've done that over here. You can also access the databases by going over here and clicking PHP-MyAdmin. Let's open the WordPress dashboard and go down to Plugins and click Add New. Use the keyword search field and search for the word Duplicator. The Duplicator WordPress migration plugin is the one we're looking for. You can see that I've already got it active here, but you can use the button at the top right to click Install and then Activate. Once you have the plugin activated, you'll see a menu item down here, and it's just got a couple of choices: Packages, Tools, and Settings, as well as GoPro. We don't need the Pro version, so we'll use the free version here, and it creates something called Packages that we'll use to migrate our website to a different server or different host. So if you click the Packages right there, you'll see that I have a couple test packages created. You'll get a message that says you don't have any packages yet, and what you do is create a new package. This package is what you'll use to install a copy of this website at a new server. I'm able to just use all the default settings and it'll name it with a date and the name of the site. I'll just click the next button and you have to leave this page open. It scans the site and it tells you whether everything is good in each of these categories. If you have a red marking here, you may have an issue and you might have to open it up and see what they recommend. But if everything is green here, we're going to be making a copy of the files and the database and then zipping it into a package which contains all that stuff plus an installer file. So I'm going to click Build, and then it's building the package. This usually only takes a few minutes, and then we'll do something with that package. After building the package, the plugin saves the installer file and the archive file inside of your WordPress installation. It does give you these download buttons, but you don't have to download them from this page. In fact, let's go back up into Packages, and you'll see I have a third version here that I created just now. Here's another link to those files, and you can also get them just from your file structure. In fact, in my local environment in MAMP, I've had an issue when I click the installer in order to save the file. if you look at my downloads notification up here, this installer file has failed, and you can see it's failed a few times. It doesn't happen in every environment, but that doesn't mean you can't use the plugin. It just means you have to go into your files manually and find the installer and the archive file and use it in your next installation. Navigate to your MAMP folder and open htdocs where you have your website folders. Go to the brochure site folder or the folder where you've created the packages, and you'll see a new folder called WP Snapshots that Duplicator creates for you. You'll see a variety of files in here. I have 3 different packages, and I can find the ones that I'm looking for right inside of that folder. Now if I move over a little bit, I can look at the date and time, and I can see, let's see, which of these ones I'm looking for. So I'm looking for the installer and the archive files that I just created. Those might be the only ones you have if you haven't built a lot of packages. What I'm going to do is take those 2 files, the archive and the installer file, and I'm going to move them over to a new folder inside of htdocs and a new MAMP folder. So I'm going to create a new folder inside of htdocs. This one I'm going to call Migration 2. You can see I already did one called Migrated. This one is Migration 2. Doesn't matter what you call it, but we can leave this folder empty for now. What the Duplicator plugin does is it makes an entire copy of the old WordPress site, including all the WordPress core files, and it uses those archived files to build the new site. So you don't have to install WordPress again. I'm just going to move these and hold down Control and copy them over to my new folder in htdocs, and then I have to do one more step before I can restore and migrate my site to this new location. Now, in many cases, you can just click the installer and the archive button to be able to just use your computer to download the file itself and move it into the right location. I'm just showing you an alternative way in case, like me, the installer button isn't working in this case. What we're going to do is navigate to this installer file inside of our new MAMP folder, which I renamed Brochure Site Migration 2, and you can name it whatever you like. To make it just a little bit easier, I'm going to rename this file without all this reference numbers, and I'm just going to call it installer.php. In doing that, now I can go back to my browser and I'll be able to open a new tab and type in the address of that new folder /installer.php. Now you should get a screen that is heading Duplicator that will take you through just a couple of steps in order to create the new site. You just have to click this box that tells you that it will be overwriting an existing database or creating one. And so if you hit the next button, it's going to the next few steps and it will bring you through a couple of steps. Now, I've found that when I use MAMP, I am able to allow Duplicator to create the new database for me. And that's one of 2 options under this action bullet point right here. If that doesn't work for you, you can create the database just like we've done before using phpMyAdmin in your MAMP installation, and then put the localhost and the name of the database and then root for user and password. For now, give this a try because it's a little bit easier. Allow the plugin to create the new database. You can just select that item and then name the database. I always name the database the same as the site to make it convenient. And the user and password inside of MAMP databases is always root and root. Hit the next button and it'll verify that that's the way you want it set up, and hit yes. It said installing database. It's telling me that the new settings are going to be here, the address and the path and the title of the site. You could even change the title of the site if you want here, just so that you know which is which, and hit next. Now if you get to this step 4, it looks like everything has worked. You can click Admin Login. It opens a new tab, and now you can see that this is at the new site address, and it's prompting you to log in. So I've logged into the new site. You can see that the title has got the new word migrated that I added inside of the Duplicator settings. And now there is a final step. You want to remove the installation files, because that installer.php is something that is accessible to the public, and you wouldn't want anyone to be able to hack into your site using that file. So if you just click Remove Installation Files Now, it tells you what it did. It removed those files from the new site. And by the way, they do still exist at the old site. And then we can go ahead and look at the dashboard. You can roll over and right-click Visit Site and open it over here. Everything is exactly the same as our original site, except for the address, and of course if you've changed the name. The Duplicator plugin installer file has taken care of the entire migration, including changing all the URLs to the new address of the new site. It also created the database for you. If the Duplicator plugin wasn't able to create the database for you, then you just have to open up MAMP and open the start page, which I have open here, and use the phpMyAdmin database manager to just create a new database as we've done before. So if you click the Databases tab at the top, you can choose a database name and just click Create. That will allow you to fill in the details of that database with the name and then root for the username and password, and Duplicator will be able to populate that with the migrated site. Here's what that process would look like. I know that in my original site I still have these packages available, so I'm just going to create a new one, and I'm going to create the database manually like you may have to do. So I know that in htdocs I can simply create another folder. This one I'll call Migration 3. And I'm going to take these same two archive files and just copy them over to here. And then I'm going to take the installer.php and I'm going to take away all this extra text in the file name just so that it's simple, so I can navigate to that file inside of my new brochure site Migration 3 folder inside of htdocs. So if I just go back and open a new tab in my browser, I'm going to go ahead and type in that correct address. /installer.php. Again, that should open up the Duplicator plugin, but it looks like I must have a misspelling here. Let's see, brochure, Migration 3. What have I done wrong? Let's take a look. This is something that might happen to you. Brochure site Migration 3 is the folder name inside of htdocs. That looks right. Localhost brochure site. You can see that I'm missing the site inside the URL here. So now this URL should open up my Duplicator plugin. There I go. Now I just have to check the box. I've got 2 passes here, so it looks like everything should work. It's running a deployment. So now when I get to this step, I want, instead of creating a new database, I'm going to use the action connect and remove all data. I'm going to have an empty database anyway. So while I'm on this screen, I'll go back to phpMyAdmin, and I'm going to create a new database in phpMyAdmin. Database name, brochure site Migration 3, and I just click Create. Now it's showing me that database, and you can see there's no tables found because the migration process will populate that existing database. I just have to know what the database name is, and of course the username and password is root and root. So let's go back to the Duplicator installer, and the database name, brochure site migration 3. Make sure you spell it right. And of course, you have to have a user and a password, root and root. I'll click next. It's telling me, do I want to run the installer with these settings? And I can also name this. Let's see, I'm going to call this create database. Created the database so that I know what it is. And then I'll just hit next. Looks like everything has worked. Again, I'll hit admin login and put the right password in. And then again, it's been successfully migrated. I can click remove installation files now, and I'm all done. I can roll over the name and right click and open the site in a new tab. Again, an exact copy with all the URLs correct. Brochure site migration 3. All the navigation is working. It's changed the database. And if we go back into PHP My Admin and refresh, if I go into that specific database, brochure site migration 3, you can see that it added all the database tables for that site. Awesome. In this video, we made a complete copy of our brochure site and installed it using the Duplicator plugin into a new location exactly the same as the original site. In the next video, we'll get right down into the files and database and migrate the site completely manually. You'll understand everything WordPress needs to run, no matter where it's hosted. Let's go.